Welcome back. All right, so 5 games tonight in the NHL, and now that I've got the trade video done, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Let us go ahead and discuss tonight's games. We're going to start off with Chicago and Ottawa. Well, Ottawa should have won this, but they didn't finish it. They started the game, they played well through a lot of the game, and then let's just go through it. It's Mrazek versus Sogard. It was Chris Neil's jersey retirement night. I saw some comments about Chris Neil and how he doesn't deserve it, and he's just a goon. He was more than that, and at some point in time, I can get into that more in detail. But what was more important than that, too, was the start for Chicago. On a turnover, Patrick Kane buries a one-timer. Domi with the assist at 44 seconds. So Patrick Kane, I've read a lot about how his offense has disappeared. Maybe he's read about it as well. Stützle nearly answers. Giroux has a rush chance. That's held. There's too many Sens on the ice. The Hawks get a power play. Athanasiou has a chance that's blocked. That's killed off. McCabe then has a net feed picked off. Pinto has a net drive. Couldn't bury there. Seth Jones fires one wide as the Hawks press. Jack Johnson has a shot that's held. The Sens with a 3-on-2. That fizzles out. Mott then flattened Mitchell, I should say, and then of course we get some pushing on the next whistle because they're not happy with Mott. And the Sens with some frequent turnovers. So after the first, it's 1-0 Chicago, and just a sloppy period for Ottawa, really. Second period. Sens draw a power play, it becomes a 5-on-3. Mrazek would accidentally push the net off, at least that's the storyline. It's killed off, and honestly, the net came off pretty easily there. DeBrincat then has a shot that's held. The shots are 5-1 for Ottawa, 6 minutes in. Sens had a 3-on-1 that fizzles out. They would get a press, and then Pinto. He scores from Brassard, and Zaitsev at 7:31, that ties it. And for Pinto, he needed that. It's been a cold run for him, really, since the start of November. Stützle's then denied on a rush. The Hawks are stuck on one shot for quite a while. Lafferty then has a chance that's held, and with 1:28 left, the Hawks get a power play. So that rolls over into the third. The Sens do finish the kill, and then it's Claude Giroux, who's been red hot. He scores from DeBrincat and Brandstrom at 2:11, and it's 5-hole on a rush opportunity. Hawks go to the power play. There's a shorthanded chance for Brandstrom. That's held. That's killed off. And then Tkachuk at 4:53, shortly after the power play is done. He scores from Batherson and Stützle, and it's suddenly 3-1. But the Hawks would look to answer. That being said, the Senators get a power play. Here's your chance to take the team that's got the lowest point total in the league and just, finish them off. Instead, pretty much right off the opening faceoff, Lafferty gets a shorthanded goal. 10:49. He just steals it, goes down the ice, and scores. Hawks then finish the kill. That's the most important part of that, of course. Stützle with the net feed. That's held. DeBrincat has a rush chance. It's held as well. And then it's another turnover rush. And guess what? It's Kane again from Domi at 16:55. You can't give Kane those chances. So that forces overtime. Sens controlled early. Stützle is denied. Chabot has a rush chance that's saved. And then on a 2-on-1, Chicago wins this. It's Athanasiou from Tyler Johnson and McCabe at 2:52. Your final score is 4-3 in overtime for Chicago. They go to 17-32-5 with the win. Ottawa 26-24-4 with the overtime loss. Anaheim on the mind because they got very close to Anaheim. They're only 1 point now behind the Ducks with that win tonight, so that's why I said Anaheim there. But yeah, so pretty big night for Chicago and a rough one for Ottawa. Shots in this one, 10-9 Chicago in the first, 11-6 Ottawa in the second, then 14-7 Chicago in the third. In the overtime, 4-2 for Ottawa, but one of those two shots for Chicago, the one that matters. Final shots, 32-31 for the Hawks. Both teams went 0 for 3 on the power play. Hits 38-30 for Ottawa. Mrazek saves 28 out of 31. Sogard saves 28 out of 32. So there you go. For Ottawa, they needed 2 points. They just get the one. Next up, the Islanders in Pittsburgh. This was really entertaining. So it's DeSmith versus Sorokin in this one. This was a game that had probably the wildest of momentum swings until we get right about here. So Palmieri has an early shot that's held. Kapanen's denied and close. The Islanders press at 3 minutes. The shots are 4-3 though for Pittsburgh 6 minutes into it. McGinn gets hurt. He got hit in the throat by the puck. He would return, but that didn't look great. I can't imagine taking a puck right in the Adam's apple. Not a lot of fun. Raquel then had a rush chance that was saved. The Penguins press at 9 minutes. There's shot blocking going on by the Pens at this point as well. Rust is denied twice. The Islanders clear it out, and then exactly at 12 minutes, Crosby buries one in close. Joseph and Ruhwedel with the assists at 12 minutes. Palmieri then has a chance, fired high. Islanders are stuck on 3 shots until Lee scores from Barzal at 13:56. DeSmith thought he had it. It's actually on top of him, and Lee just chips it off him like it's a golf shot. One of those trick golf shots, or one of those things that, you know, at a frat party, I bet you I can hit that puck off your chest. Bet you can't. So Ruhwedel then has a shot held as the Pens press. I don't recommend that. You're going to hit him right below the belt. Penguins press in the final minute, although that will get the puck off of him. It will. So the shots are, bet you I can get that puck off you without touching the puck. Bet you can't. Anyway, 1-1 after 1. Second period. I never attended a frat party. Second period, early press by the Penguins. There's a near miss for Rust and close. Ruhwedel has a blast that's caught and held. At 3:53, Pittsburgh gets the lead. It's Raquel, his 20th of the year. He loves playing in Pittsburgh. Gensel and Letang with the assists, and that one's a tip in on a rush chance. Penguins press for another, and eventually they get it. It's Zucker, who'd been all around the net this whole game, from Joseph and Ruhwedel at 5:35. The Islanders call a timeout. Good call by Lane Lambert. Call a timeout and get things figured out, because this could have got out of the way, or out of hand really quickly. In fact, the shots are 12-1 for Pittsburgh 8.5 minutes in. Get a power play for the Islanders. That was killed off, but then Nelson gets them a goal closer on a wraparound. Mayfield and Romanov with the assists of 14:25. 3:16 left. The Penguins get a power play. That was killed off, but not long after. Raquel restores the 2-goal lead from Crosby and Pettersson at 18:57. But in the final minute of the period, the Islanders answer again. So Lee scores that one from Barzal and Aho at 19:32. So it's a 4-3 game after 2, but it didn't feel like it should have been. It felt like Pittsburgh should have been ahead by more than a goal. Third period, early press by the Penguins, but the Islanders would get the power play, and they would score on it. At 5:01, it was on a face-off win early. Nelson scores that one from Lee. So suddenly we have a tie game. Nelson then whiffed on one as the Islanders press. O'Connor had a net feed. That was blocked out. And late in the period, at 17:17, as I'm getting ready for overtime, Parise would score from Nelson and Aho. So that makes it 5-4 in favor of the Islanders. Penguins press to answer, and they pull the goalie, but it doesn't work for them. The Islanders hold on. Now, originally that Parise goal was given to Nelson. It was announced that way in the building. Notice that Nelson had 2 goals tonight, so a bunch of hats rained down. If you threw your hat down, you're SOL. So the shots the score in this one ends up being 5-4 for the Islanders. Really important win for them. They go to 28-23-7 for the Penguins. This one hurts, 27-18-9. Remember, Detroit's coming up, Florida's coming up. If the Islanders, who now are in a playoff spot, end up heating up, Pittsburgh could be in trouble. Maybe both Pittsburgh and Washington could end up on the outside looking in. Crazy, crazy times in the East. Shots in this one, 18-8 Pittsburgh in the first, 19-10 Pittsburgh in the second, 10-7 Islanders in the third. The final shot's 44-28 for Pittsburgh. Power plays, the Penguins 0 for 1, the Islanders 1 for 2. The hits, 29-19 for the Islanders. DeSmith saves 23 out of 28, rough night for him. Sorokin had some rough moments, but he ends up saving 40 out of 44, so not too shabby. All right, next up, Dallas and Minnesota. This is where offense went to die tonight. There was no offense. And it was great goaltending, really. Ottinger versus Gustafsson in this one. And again, give Gustafsson the net. Just do it. You'll feel better. You want Minnesota to make the playoffs, and just give Gustafsson the net. He's ready. Good early back and forth. Hartman, fans on a one-timer. The shots are only 2-1 for Minnesota, 5.5 minutes in. Stars draw a power play. Good cycle. The Wild cleared out. They kill it off. Dallas's power plays got progressively worse, I felt, but Dallas's power play has been mostly awful for weeks now. So Boldy has a rush chance that's saved. The Stars go back to the power play. Don't worry about it. That was killed off too. The Wild press with 4.5 minutes left. Hockenpah saves a Beckman shot. I thought Beckman had a decent game. 3:43 left. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. The Stars would press in the final minute. It's scoreless after 1. Second period, Hartman fires one wide on a rush. Boldy then had a net drive. That was blocked. Pavelski's denied on a 3-on-2. Pavelski, it's been a while since he had a goal. Power play for Dallas. Guess what? Killed off. Lundqvist then had a blast that went off the helmet. So it's a helmet save for Gustafsson. Those count too. The shots are 8-4 for the Stars at 8 minutes. With 7.5 minutes left, the Wild with some pressure. We get a power play for Minnesota. That was unsuccessful, and with 1:23 left, the Stars get their 4th power play. So that rolls over into the third, where, of course, the Wild finished the kill. and that would be the end of the power play portion of the evening for the Dallas Stars. Stars press the while blocking. Fox is denied in close. Hintz has a shot that's blocked by Spurgeon. In fact, I didn't put it on the board because I knew I'd remember. There were 3 Hintz shots on that shift that were stopped by Spurgeon. So I can't prove he's all bruised up, but he may very well be. Shots are 5-0 Dallas at 5 minutes, but the Wild would draw a power play and they would score on it. It was a good cycle, and it's tipped in by Zuccarello from Boldy and Goligoski at 6:37. It's a 1-0 lead Minnesota. The Wild with some momentum. Sagan, though, was denied in close, and then Jamie Benn ties it. He scores from Johnston and Heiskanen at 10:24. Dumba has a rush chance that's kicked aside, but it was a quiet second half of that period. It was pretty obvious we're going to overtime. The Stars, by my count, 2-9 in overtime. Wild, by my count, 3-2 in overtime. Overtime has not been a friend of the Dallas Stars. And yet in this one, they did all right. Wild control early. Glendenning's denied on a turnover chance. The Wild then forced a turnover. Eriksson Ek has a chance that's saved. Boldy's denied. The rebound misses the net. And then Pavelski's denied, and we get some pushing after that. So we're going to a shootout. I believe it was in round 5 that Matt Boldy finally ended it. Minnesota wins this one in a shootout. Really important 2 points for them. They go to 29, 21, and 5 with the 2-1 victory. Dallas now 30, 14, and 12. So they pull a point further ahead of Winnipeg, but it's not inspiring a lot of confidence. Shots in this one, 8-7 Minnesota in the first, 17-11 Minnesota in the second, 9-4 Dallas in the third in the overtime. Both teams with 3 shots. Minnesota ends up out shooting them 32-20 overall. Power plays, Dallas 0 for 4, Minnesota 1 for 2. Hits, 14-13 for Minnesota. Ottinger, 31 saves on 32 shots. Gustafsson, 29 saves on 30 shots. Give him the net. Just give him however many starts he feels like he can make. Gustafsson's ready. All right, Rangers, Edmonton. If you turn this off after the first, you're like, well, this one's done. You'd be crazy. Even Jack Michaels was not saying that. Kept saying this one isn't over. Boy, was he right. So, Shesterkin versus Campbell. There's a near miss for VC from the slot. The shots are 2 apiece at 5.5 minutes. Lindgren was denied in close. We get a power play for the Oilers, and they score on it. It's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins from Hyman and McDavid at 7:52. The Oilers then make it 2-0. It's Tyson Barrie from Fogle and Janmark at 12:11. And then 19 seconds later, it becomes 3-0. It's Ryan from Hyman and Puljujarvi at 12:30. So, Igor who? It's no big deal. 3-0. It's only 12.5 minutes into the game. But the Rangers get a power play and they score on it. It's Kreider from Zibanejad and Panarin at 13:36. So that makes it 3-1. You always got to watch out. The Rangers are capable of a lot of goals. The Oilers press with 5 minutes left, or 4 minutes left, I should say, and with 3:05 left, they end up getting themselves a power play. They score on this one as well. It is Draisaitl at 18:27 from McDavid and Nugent-Hopkins. So McDavid with 2 assists in the first period, he now has 101 points on the season. He just makes it look easy. So it's 4-1 after 1. We're done, right? Second period. Igor was still in. This was a whole conversation during the intermission. Should Halak be in? Well, they have to play in Calgary tomorrow, so probably not, but maybe they should. Silly conversation, really. Rangers press briefly. Mika Zibanejad had a rush chance. That wouldn't go. Power play for the Oilers, and that leads to a turnover, and Kreider scores shorthanded. Gets that one from Fox and Lindgren at 6:26. The Rangers then finish the kill. That's the important part. The Oilers press at 9 minutes. There's a power play for New York. That was killed off. Then there's a crossbar for McLeod, who had a prominent night, just didn't get on the board with a goal. VC was robbed in close. VC is then denied to start the third as well. Jimmy VC, lots of opportunities tonight, could not buy a goal. So not long after that, on a face-off win by the Rangers, Lafreniere scores from Kakko at 1:35. That's the 9th goal for the one everybody says is a bust, and he's no good, and he's terrible. And Kakko's not any good either. That whole conversation. So that made it 4-3, and it does quiet the crowd a little bit in Edmonton. The Oilers look to answer, but the shots are 3-1 New York, 8.5 minutes in. Fans call one, the ref doesn't. The Rangers draw a power play. It then became 1 minute and 23 seconds of 5-on-3 due to a delay of game. You do not give the Rangers a 5-on-3. They scored on it. It's Zibanejad from Fox and Panarin at 13:10. And then there's a post for Hedl away from them getting the lead. But the Oilers would kill the 5-on-4. Then there's a near miss for Fogle in the final minute and close. We're going to overtime. In the overtime, Miller has a rush chance. That was saved. Hedl is then denied. Draisaitl was denied the other way. Just ridiculous start to this overtime. Nugent-Hopkins breaks up a 2-on-1. The Oilers end up going to a power play with roughly a minute left. They generate opportunities. They do not solve Shesterkin. And then we go to a shootout, and in the shootout is Lafreniere. You know, the bust. I hope he introduced himself that way. Yeah, I'm Alexei Lafreniere. You know, I'm the guy that's the bust. So he gets the shootout winner. I think it was round 6. The Rangers with a huge comeback victory. It's the first time they've come back from 2 goals down after the second period. And they're 33-14-8. With the shootout loss, the Oilers 30-19-7. Shots in this one, 13-12 Rangers in the first, 12-9 Rangers in the second, and 10-2 for the Rangers in the third. In the overtime, the shots were 6-3 Edmonton. Final shots 38-29 for the Rangers. Both teams go 2 for 4 on the power play. Hits 29-20 for the Rangers. Shesterkin saves 25 out of 29. Campbell saves 34 out of 38. So, what a game. That was probably game of the night material. Probably. Although, do you want to see a goalie punch somebody? Well, then, here we got the Battle of California. And, yeah, that would be the one that I'd say, yeah, there'll be a goalie who punches somebody. Sure. So, yeah, Ducks against the Kings. The Ducks, of course, their season's done, but it doesn't mean they don't want to beat LA. So, Copley versus Gibson, the Cylon helmets being worn by the Kings. Good defense by both teams early. It does not stay that way. Ducks had the lone shot on net 4.5 minutes in. Again, it doesn't stay at that rate. Fiala has a rush chance that's saved. Kempe has a chance to deflect out. And this was what was driving me nuts. So at the start of it, so it's the ESPN feed that I've got on center ice. And at the start, it's a basketball game. And then all of a sudden, I go back to the LA Anaheim game, and pardon the interruptions on. Now, I don't mind me some PTI sometimes, but not during a hockey game. They would fix that, but in the meantime, I actually had to load up on my computer and watch on it was just, it's always the ESPN feed, and I don't know why it always tends to be the ESPN feed where I'm like, what is going on here? This isn't hockey. What is happening? So anyways, Kings press with 9 minutes left, and that's just before center ice got fixed and they get back to the right game. They were on the wrong channel is what I think it was. I think they actually were on the wrong channel. So it's not on ESPN in this case. It's actually on whoever does the channel switching with center ice. Iafallo's denied, Lizotte with a near miss, and then he hits the next one. He scores from Iafallo and Fiala at 14-22. And it was just endless pressure, wave after wave by the Kings, and eventually they score. Kings look for another, but it's only 1-0 after 1. Second period, Fowler fires one high. There's a power play for the Kings. Doughty has a shot tipped wide. That power play's killed off. The Ducks clear it out. Shots are 4-3 for the Kings at 5 minutes, but the Ducks would tie it at 5:52 at Shattenkirk. It was through a screen. Kulikov and Vetrano with the assists. Then there's a post for Klingberg. So Anaheim this close to getting a lead. Kings press with 9 minutes left. Eventually they score again. It's Arvidsson from Moore at 12:56, and then they press for another. Momentum in their favor. 3:15 left. The Kings get a power play. It was Zegras to the box, and Zegras really ticked off Copley here. I think Copley wanted to come out to center ice and knock his block off. Now, Zegras clearly is a heat magnet out there that other teams really can't stand him. And he goes to the box. And one thing is, when the guy that you really can't stand's in the box, I think it helps your power play because you really want to make him pay. And the Kings score. It's Kempe from Kopitar and Doughty at 17:53. Then, with 23 seconds left, the Ducks are getting a power play. But they reviewed it, and it was a 5-minute power play because Copley gets the match penalty for punches thrown with his blocker. So that would suck. The blocker is a very solid piece of hockey equipment, and using it to punch people, I totally understand why that's 5 in a game. And I saw that and I thought, now, how much of that has to do with the Zegras bit from a few minutes ago? But at any rate, that means it's a 5-minute power play, and Copley's night is done. Jonathan Quick has to go in the net. So that rolls over into the third. Kings didn't let the Ducks set up early. Zegras then tries to bank one in, but then they do score. It's McTavish from Fowler and Zegras at 2:28. Then there's a shorthanded chance for Lizotte that's held because it's a major, of course. That means the power play continues. They would actually kill off the rest of it, though, the Kings. So they allowed 1 goal on that 5-minute power play. Ducks press at 7 minutes. Then the Kings go to the power play and they score on theirs. It's Kopitar from Fiala and Doughty at 9:44, and it was on a face-off win early in said power play. But the Ducks don't go away. They answer. It's Vetrano from Fowler at 13:10. So again, you can feel the heat between these teams. Just the Ducks and the Kings don't like each other. I'm all for it. Anytime the two California teams go at one another, usually it ends up with a lot of pretty obvious dislike between them. So the Kings go back to the power play and they score on it. At 15:30, it's Arvidsson with the second of the game from Durzi and Danault. The Ducks would pull the goaltender. That would allow Fiala to hit the empty net from Iafallo and Lizotte at 18:47. So Lizotte's all over the board, Iafallo as well, and the Kings, just in general. They win this one 6-3. They go to 31-18-7 with the win. The Ducks 17-33-6 with the loss. The shots in this one 14-5 LA in the first, 13-12 LA in the second, 14-10 LA in the third. They did outshoot Anaheim 41-27. Power plays, LA 3 for 4, Anaheim 1 for 2. That'd be the 5-minute major. That's the only power play they had in the game. Hits 16-11 for Anaheim. Copley saved 16 out of 17 before a blocker punch puts him out, and Quick saved 8 out of 10 in relief, during which most of the time ESPN was talking about how much Quick has sucked this year. Gibson saves 35 out of 40. I heard some mocking cheers from Kings fans in attendance for Gibson. I can't put this on Gibson. Gibson's just had no support from the defense in front of him. And there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.